Ukrainian officials say Russian missiles that struck a city in central Ukraine killed at least 21 people, wounded more than 100. Ukraine's national police said 3 missiles hit an office building and damaged residential buildings on Thursday. The city is about 268 kilometers southwest of the capital, Kyiv. The missile strike ignited a fire that expanded to engulf 50 cars in an adjacent parking lot. The Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, said a child was among the dead, and he called the attack an open act of terrorism against civilians in locations without military value. Meanwhile, the government officials from about 40 countries met in The Hague to discuss coordinating their investigation of potential war crimes in Ukraine. Meanwhile, combatants in Ukraine set out to acquire smarter and deadlier drones. We get details from AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma.
Never in the history of warfare have drones been used as intensively as in Ukraine, where they often play an outsized role in who lives and dies. Russians and Ukrainians alike depend heavily on them to pinpoint enemy positions and guide their hellish artillery strikes. But after months of fighting, the drone fleets of both sides are depleted, an urgency reflected by the White House's disclosure on Monday that it has information Iran will be rushing up to several hundred unmanned aerial vehicles to Moscow's aid. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Conservative Party lawmakers in Britain Thursday knocked one of the 6 remaining contenders out of the contest to replace British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, as frontrunner Rishi Sunak worked to stave off momentum from surprise challenger Penny Mordaunt. The Attorney General, Suella Braverman, secured the fewest votes from her colleagues, 27, and was eliminated from the race. U.S. President Joe Biden is defending his administration's push to revive a deal aimed at stopping Iran from gaining a nuclear weapon, while warning his patience has limits. AP correspondent Sagar Magani with those details.
The president says Tehran knows what the U.S. is willing to accept in order to rejoin the dormant agreement, and he's waiting on a response.
But we are not going to wait forever.
A day after saying he'd be willing to use force against Iran as a last resort, the president said diplomacy remains the best path. At a joint news conference in Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid said that won't work.
The only thing that will stop Iran is knowing that if they continue to develop their nuclear program, the free world will use force.
Both men agreed on the bottom line. Iran will not be allowed to gain a nuclear weapon. Sagar Magani.
Meanwhile, there is a surge in COVID-19 cases around the U.S., and that has states and cities rethinking their responses, such as mandates and on mask. AP correspondent Donna Water reports.
Nationwide, 81% of the latest COVID-19 cases are driven by the highly transmissible Omicron variants BA.5 and BA.4, which have shown an ability to get around the protection offered by vaccination, pushing hospitalizations and deaths higher in recent weeks. Los Angeles County health officials are considering once again requiring masks for all indoor spaces. Nationwide this week, the White House response team called on all adults 50 and older to get a booster if they haven't done so this year. But some medical experts say warnings now are too little, too late. I'm Donna Water.
U.S. inflation surged to a new 4-decade high in June because of rising prices for gas, food, and rent, squeezing household budgets and pressuring the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates aggressively, trends that raise the risk of recession. The government's consumer price index soared 9.1% over the past year, the biggest yearly increase since 1981, with nearly half of the increase due to higher energy cost. Recapping our top story, Ukrainian officials say that Russian missiles that struck a city in central Ukraine killed at least 21 people and wounded more than 100.
Hi, thank you for watching. I hope the videos are useful for you. Please subscribe to my channel using the button below.